بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Inshallah, in this lesson we will be studying the text called Al-Bayqooniyyah. So Al-Bayqooniyyah is a text, it's a poem on principles of Hadith, usul al-Hadith. So one is, you have two aspects of Hadith. One is the Hadith itself, that is a text, the translation, the meaning, the rulings, the rulings you derive from this. And the other aspect is because Hadith is a transmission, like how do we understand the transmission? Is it transmitted correctly? It's like when you have an investigation, there's an article, or you're doing some kind of report. So who said it? Is it a credible witness? Or in court, is the witness credible? Who did he hear it from? Is it authentic? Has he made mistakes? So all this you analyze, not the text. That would you do in Mishkat. We analyze the text, the meaning, the lugha, the vocab, the gharib words, the new word, etc. Here we analyze not the text, but the actual hadith as a whole, how it has reached us, scrutinize the hadith. That's basically, I mean, we do a more precise definition in higher books. We're just going to do it very simple. So Bayquniyyah is a small poem. It's about 34 or so lines. Okay. Now, how are we going to study this book? Before we start the book, if you've already studied any usul hadith before, you're going to find it very boring. Because what happens is, what I find is, there's this book, is a text, we're going to explain it and they're going into a lot of details. Now, we've studied Nahwa before, we studied grammar before, we studied Balagha, we studied Quran translation. So in all of those, you're kind of advanced or intermediate. But in this science, we're still beginners. So the same way I taught you, remember I taught you, what are the three states? Marfu', Mansub, Majroor. Marfu', Mansub. Remember I taught you that? We're going to be doing the same baby way this way. Because this is an introductory book. We're not going to go into any detail. Just get, I think, about 34 terminologies, if I can remember shortly. 34 terminologies, know those inside out. After this book, we'll do another book called Nukhbatul Fikr, which is more detailed, and then there we'll go into a bit more detail. And here it's going to be very, very simple. All I want you to do in this book is understand 34 terminologies, know them on the tip of your tongue, and be able to recognize them very simply in some simple examples, where possible, where possible. You understand? No details, no like ikhtilaf, who says what, and is it realistic, and whatever the text says, the text and simple. Yes, and then we go into it more detail. We're not going to go into, so even for example, there's some, I sent you some shuru commentary, etc. You don't need any of that. All I want you to do is understand the text and translate the text and know the terms by the tip of your tongue. If you have the younger students, you got good memory, then what you can do, you can memorize the text. That'd be very good. Some of you find it difficult, at least memorize the concept. You don't have to memorize the text itself. What do you have to memorize? The concept. You need to know, okay, look, a Sahih Hadith has these conditions. If you can memorize a poem, it's very good, because then that will happen. Anytime when I ask what's a Sahih Hadith, you can just quote the text. Be very good. Okay? And as I said, we're not going to go into any more additional stuff, only the text. And the 34 terminology, 34 mustalah. You know how you had marfu'at, mansubat, majrurat, and then you have sahih, mithal, mu'tal, ajwaf, naqis, and qalb, and just basic, that's all I learned. 34 terminologies. There are more, some 60, so about 34 basics in this book. So get these 34 terminologies done, and that's it, your book sorted. Yes? Okay. Now, the poem is the poem. We're going to use the poem. Majority of the times we follow the structure of the poem. Okay, but a few places there's, like, for example, you have marfu' mansub one place, and then majroor comes 2 poems down, for example. Or you have like mubtada khabar, and then ism kana, and then khabar of kana comes a bit later, so we put it together. So what will happen? Sometimes we change the order of the poem around. So if you see, hey, it's not flowing, it's because we can use the this sharah. What he done, he didn't do the commentary exactly in order of the poem, but a few places he changed the order. He brought a later poem, later line of text earlier, so it matches, the 3 categories match together. So sometimes you may see that the structure that we have in here is a bit different to the poem that we have. Okay? Yes, so far? You understand what's going to happen? Now, before the book, again, who's the Musannif? Who wrote this book? So the author is Umar ibn Muhammad ibn Fattuh al-Bayquni al-Dimashqi. He's a Dimashqi from Syria, modern Syria, and he's a Shafi scholar. Apart from that, not much known about him. He passed away in 1669, the Christian era, which is 1080, so about 400 years ago he passed away. And Zurqani, who wrote a commentary on this Bayquniyyah itself, he says, وَلَمْ أَقِفْ لَهُ عَلَى اسْمٍ وَلَا تَرْجَمَةٍ وَلَا مَا هُوَ مَنْسُوبٌ إِلَيْهِ. He said, I don't know his proper name. I don't know anything about his tarjama, means like his small biography. I don't even know what Bayqoon means. Some books have said Bayqoon is a place in Azerbaijan, but Bayqoon, if you look on Google Maps, Bayqoon is a place in Lebanon. So he said, even the person wrote the thing. So basically, we don't know much about him. And it's very interesting. There's something like this when you Qabul. Like if you like in the Arab world, like everybody does this like a standard. So you have Bayqooniyyah, then you have the Munakhat al-Fikr. So these are like some book, standard book, and you have Tadrib al-Rawi or the Muqaddim al-Misala, etc. But this is like a primary introductory. Who's the author? We don't even know properly who he is. But it's like Ajrumiyyah. Like people don't know much about him. But this that matan has just Allah's given the Qabul, and it just people use it. That's it. So what amal he done, whose dua, you don't know. So sometimes we do amal. It doesn't matter how good your amal is. It's real thing that matters Qabul. You can put all your full effort. You can think it's really good, you know. But the main thing is Qabul in Allah. And sometimes we have Qabul in the dunya. That Allah gives us in the dunya, and the main thing is Qabul in the hereafter. So we should always remember this. That who this person you don't even know, Allah gives Qabul in the dunya. So and we should make dua that okay, Allah gives Qabul in the hereafter for our amal, because you know doing work is something. So one is wujud of the amal. The amal is existing. Like I'm giving a dars, so there's a wujud. Is a Qabul. So that's one very interesting lesson from a lot of these books. Okay. Yes. So the Kitab itself, the Kitab is a manduma. Manduma. You see what happens. You know, like different eras have different styles of learning. So like one style is like a poem. Like for example, we like if all of us, what do? Write charts. I'm teaching you using graphs and PowerPoints, and a lot of people like this. So different eras have different what? Style. So one era, like sometimes they have like very, because like remember in the previous like before, paper's hard to come by. Like if like 400-500 years ago, 1,000 years, paper's hard to come by. You don't want to write in like, imagine like some of the text we have, like the book I have 600 pages on Nahwa. We can get 600 pages from, and given like 10 students, it's kind of hard to copy it out, and it's not like mass printing, mass production. It's handwriting, copying. So you want something very short, precise. So you have short, precise text, and the teacher commentates on it, and that's what you do. That you can actually use these. And if you have a poem, the kids learn the poem, and then whenever you need, you just quote the poem off. That was one style. Like you have manduma, or you have a poem. So they would put the text. So you have in Nahwa, you have the Alfiya of Ibn Malik, very famous. A few poems, 1,000 lines of poems, roughly. And you learn that, and you sorted. You have the Jawhar al-Maqnoon al-Balagha. So that was one style. So this is a manduma. This text we have in front of us is a manduma. There are 34 lines of text, and there's 34 mustalah. And that's what we're going to cover in this lesson, inshallah. Any question regarding this? Okay, subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.